Hey everybody, I'm going to give a quick overview of going from my S22 Ultra Samsung, changing over to a Pixel 8 with Graphene loaded on it. Now just some background, Graphene is an alternate OS, which is a variation of Android. It's one of several alternatives. There's Graphene, there's Calyx, there's Lineage, and a couple phone alternatives themselves, like the Fairphone or Braxman's phone. I don't know much about those. I just decided to start with an Android phone and put on an alternate version of Android to get better privacy in the face of all the AI stuff that's coming down a new Galaxy. You're not gonna be able to get away with it. There's just so much more AI built into the system. You know, one day we're probably gonna be required to have these kinds of things, but in the meantime, I really like to just have a little more control over my data leaking out, privacy, whatever else. You know, to me, it's just the creep factor, and who knows, possibly even the security factor has me a little bit concerned. So as much as I like this phone, I switched over to this, and the good thing about the Pixel is it is made by Google. It is a well-made phone. It's got a good camera. A lot of people like it. And if you're going to use Graphene, you have to use a Pixel. It's just how it works. The source code was up until recently wide open, and Graphene developers could make a custom version of Android to use on the Pixel. If you want to use some of the others like Calyx and Lineage, I think there are other phone alternatives, maybe some Motorola's, whatever else that you could use with them. There's no such version that I'm aware of that'll work with a Samsung. I think Samsung and other manufacturers are so wound up tight, they just won't release anything. So nobody bothers developing with them. So that's just how that is. But Google has been pretty good about this. They make the phone and they're okay with somebody putting an alternate version of Android on it. So it's a good phone overall. It's got an okay camera, and it's got an easy installation with a good support community. There's GrapheneOS, the forums, there are videos on YouTube. There's a Discord group out there. Never had trouble getting answers to the questions that I wanted to during the whole process. Wasn't difficult for me. I'm not really that technical a person. As far as apps, I get them directly from the Play Store. Now there's a way where you can have apps from alternate sources. Things like Aurora is one store. Obtainium is another one where you have apps that aren't available on the Google Play Store that are made by independent developers. My experience, I don't find those apps very useful, but we can get in that a little bit later. Play services will also run on this phone. It's sandboxed so that when you have an app running with Play services, you can make it so it doesn't talk to other apps, it doesn't share a bunch of data. That's really what the whole point of this is. Now, with regular Google Android, you've got 4 different profiles, 3 profiles plus 1 guest profile. With this, you've got 31. I think it's 31 plus a guest, something like that. But you have 31 different profiles you can set up on this. And that's what I'm talking about here. You can divide this down to each app. And let me just show you real quick what that looks like. If I took this phone and wanted to have a version for daily use with just apps that I have regularly, but I also wanted to have other ones, I can make this so that I've got different types. Like there's the owner, there's the daily user. I've got one here for banking and finance. I've got one for Google if I want to put Google Maps or Gmail or something on there. I haven't done that. I don't think I'm going to do it, but just to demonstrate that it can be done. I've got one specific one for Amazon. The Amazon app is probably the worst out of all the apps out there. It talks to everything. It gathers all kinds of data. You ever wonder about the creep factor when you see an ad pop up in your feed and you wonder, hey, was it something I looked at on Amazon? Maybe, but there's a rabbit hole you can go down and figure out how this stuff works. It'll make you really wonder. Meta also, Instagram or Facebook, whatever else, you can make a separate category for those if you want to use it. A quick note, if you're going to set the thing up, you'll always start with the owner profile. That one there allows the most micro adjustments inside the ROM itself. But once you've done that, you can lock that one down and not let it have network access or whatever else. You can deactivate everything and then move over to your daily user profile. Now, talking about some of the apps here, the interesting thing is banking and finance. That I would have thought would be difficult to work, but the banking and finance apps actually work really well. And the reason is the banking and finance apps are only designed to do one thing, connect you with your bank. And although I'm not saying that they're pure as the wind-driven snow, they're less likely to open up things that share here and there because that could potentially increase the attack surface for a hack. So banking apps, in my experience, every last one of them, every bank, every credit card, even PayPal, if you use that, will work. Venmo, that works on here. So I was very pleasantly surprised to see that. Another one, ADT, the ADT burglar alarm app, that works on here. The Ratio sprinkler, automatic sprinkler thing, that works on here. I was pretty impressed to see the number of apps that actually worked direct from the Google Store. Now, a note about using the Google Play Store, you don't want to use your actual Google account that you care about for this if you're trying to maximize your privacy. You can go out and get an alias name. There's services online to do that. You can have a phone number that you actually rent for the purpose of creating this account. Yes, you rent the phone number. It only costs you about $1 or $2. You get your account set up, and then you just discard it. And they may repurpose that phone number. I don't know. Some people might think that's a security hazard, but given the other possibilities, it's better to just use an alias and download right from there. I haven't had any problems with that so far. As far as Google Pay, I don't use that. I don't know if that would work or not. I don't really care. But getting back to the Aurora App Store, Aurora is a front end of the Google Play Store. And that, you don't have to actually sign up for anything. You can just go right to Aurora and download the apps. I'm not crazy about that because what that is, it uses a shared anonymous account. I don't know if that's opening up other security risks or not. I just went ahead and created my own alias account for the Play Store so I could download my apps, upload them into the owner profile, divide them among the different profiles as I wanted to, and then deactivate them in the owner profile. That's another thing. You download them all, but then you decide which apps get those. And I get the updates when I need them immediately. I've heard that maybe with Aurora, you don't get the updates as often. Somebody can correct me on that. Definitely with things like F-Droid, we'll get into that later. Different animals. So message I'm trying to say is be careful where you get your apps. You can even use the Chinese app stores for Hawaii and all that, and I don't recommend that either, but some people can experiment with this as they want to. There are alternatives to Google products. Let's say you want to watch YouTube. Well, you can open up a browser in the browser that the browser comes with it, Vanadium or Brave, and you can go right to Google and watch it there. Or you can download something called NewPipe, which is a front end for YouTube. So you can search for it through NewPipe and watch it on your device. Other devices, apps like from Google, you can use Google Maps if you want to, but again, it might not be really part of it defeats the purpose of privacy. Or go and use something called Organic Maps. That's pretty good. Organic Maps or Magic Earth is another one. Magic Earth, actually, there's a way to download your waypoints from Google Maps. Like you put little stars on places you visit, you can download that into Magic Earth. I've heard, I haven't tried it yet. That's kind of nice. I've actually navigated with Magic Earth before in the car. It actually works okay. There's also a Android Auto app available here, so you can be able to use Android Auto in your car. I haven't used it much, but that's nice to have. It's not without hiccups, but generally speaking, it's okay. There's different providers that you can use. T-Mobile is what I'm using for both these. So I've got a T-Mobile account here, I got another T-Mobile account there. Total cost for me with the military discount is about $100 a month. So, and that's with, I think it's unlimited data, but I use most of the stuff on Wi-Fi anyway. But that's kind of a nice thing. It works. And overseas, I've taken them both overseas. They work just fine. But there's certain alternatives like Cape. Cape is another developed thing that people are talking about with Graphene. Gives you another layer of security. It might be good for you. It's great all around America. Abroad, I've heard it's a little flaky. Some countries Cape works well, others doesn't work at all. Another one called Helium, which runs on T-Mobile's infrastructure. You can actually get a free plan with them. I was hoping to use it on Graphene. Unfortunately, I've confirmed with the company they do not support Graphene. And that's sometimes you'll run into that some apps just, well, we only support the official version of Android. Well, there's really nothing security-wise about it. It's just that's how they started developing the app or the program, and they said, we're only going to do the official version to avoid scammery, I guess. But if there's enough people out there who want to use this service, say, hey, look, Graphene is a legit version of Android. It's secure, definitely, so let us use it. You petition them, who knows, they might change, but that brings me into some of the cons about this. And unfortunately, there's enough cons that it might not be right for you as a daily driver. And for me, it's not yet. The Google-based solutions or the Google-based alternatives, as I mentioned, are not always ideal substitutes. If you like YouTube, NewPipe can sort of work, but I find it kept getting buggy, kept shutting down. There's updates here and there, I guess, but it's because it's open source, they may not always be able to keep up with the changes that happen on the back end of YouTube. So the front end is a little bit behind schedule. That might not be a deal killer for you, but just FYI, you also can't cast to a television set with NewPipe. I wasn't able to do that. On the plus side, Rumble worked great out of the box on this, but I was not able to cast with Rumble either. There might be something else I could do to tweak that. eBay is an app that doesn't work. If you do a lot of eBaying with your phone, like I do occasionally, that might be a deal breaker, don't know. Nest thermostats, those don't work either. Same thing with Fitbit. Those are both Google products anyway. They haven't forced the changeover yet, but I'm expecting that with Nest, and it's already got an announcement for Fitbit. By the end of the year, I'm going to have to move everything over to Google account or get rid of the Fitbit. You know what I'm going to do. Bye-bye Fitbit. I've had it for years anyway. I'll go get a Garmin or something. So that's disappointing. Tags. This was kind of a deal breaker for me. Obviously, AirTags only work with Apple, and Samsung tags only work with a Samsung. There are other tags like Chipolo, Motorola, a few others. Pebble, I think, is another one. None of them are compatible yet that I'm aware of with Graphene. And I confirmed Chipolo is not compatible because, again, it doesn't use the official Google Android. With just no reason at all that it shouldn't be able to work. It's just they don't let it work with that. Tile is another one. I've got a Tile tag I really like for, a wallet or something, and they're not able to let them work. There's one called Tracky that might work. I was able to download the app for it, but Tracky is a little different. Tracky is subscription based, more like a GPS service for a fleet of trucks, that kind of thing. So that might work, but is it really worth the cost? I don't know. I'm not really there yet. I hope that somebody someday gets a tag that is workable with Graphene. If you're listening, please pay attention to that, Graphene devs. Or not even the devs, it's about converting the people who have these apps to accept Graphene as a substitute. The camera itself, they said it was a good camera. It's good, but it's not nearly as good as the Samsung cameras. That might be a deal killer, but not so much the camera. It's the app itself. The native app in this isn't all that great, but you can download others. The camera apps for still pictures, there's a lot of them out there that really work, but I am not as experienced with the video side of it. I couldn't find a video app that worked really as well as the ones I've had with just the native one, actually, with Samsung. But you can try that. You can actually download the Google camera app for this, but this is going to be very educational. As soon as you download the Google camera app, you go to install it, and it's asking for all kinds of permissions, things that you didn't even realize. The other camera apps don't ask for that. But of course, being a Google app, it wants to know everything. Now, will it run without those permissions? You can experiment, mix and match. Does it really need to know what angle you're holding the phone at? Does it have to have that sensor activated? Maybe not. So that's one thing that you get into granular level installation features with each app. So you can really decide how much privacy you want to expose to use it. You can also have storage scopes, by the way. If you take a picture with your camera, then you want to save it somewhere, it goes into just one folder. It doesn't talk to anything else, doesn't have access to things you don't want it to access. So that's a really nice benefit. Uber also, unfortunately, does not work well. I mean, I've had it on there and I start it and it sort of takes, all the apps, by the way, will take a little longer to load, but I'll get it on there, I'll start it, and then I got to enter in the location where I am. It doesn't automatically know because it's a little fuzzy sometimes. You're using a VPN to connect with this, by the way. It comes native with something called Orbot, which is a Tor-based VPN, which if you're really paranoid, you can use that, but you don't necessarily have to have Tor. You can upload either Mullvad, or I use Proton. Mullvad and Proton both work great on this, but it might interfere with being able to get an accurate location for your Uber to pick you up, is what I'm saying. So you can experiment with that. It might not be a deal killer for me, but it was, it's kind of, you're traveling overseas, you're in an unfamiliar city, you need an Uber after the restaurant right now, and this isn't going to be as quick as a regular privacy leaking phone. So that's kind of a bummer. But again, it might improve. Keep working on that. Grab also, similar thing if you're in Asia a lot. As I mentioned Orbot earlier, the function is a little spotty. It likes to disconnect a lot. So that's why I went over to just a regular VPN, either Mullvad or Proton, like I said. I mentioned earlier Aurora. So some of the opinions on those shared anonymous accounts may or may not be that good. Your mileage will vary. F-Droid, though, is a different venue for getting apps. They have a lot of the apps that are on the Play Store, but also apps that are not available in the Play Store. A lot of people think that F-Droid is not as secure as it should be. The updates definitely are not as frequent. So up to you if you want to try F-Droid. I don't use anything off there. Just FYI, again, not all app stores are created equally. I mentioned earlier the YouTube alternatives aren't great. NewPipe is updated through Obtainium, which is a open source list of apps that are able to get updates that way. And even if it's getting updated, it might not be able to keep up with the back end of YouTube. That's just one example. I don't really use the open source apps much. Most of what I wanted to use are things that are on the Play Store. So I haven't really poked around too much. Your mileage might vary. Lastly, I just want to mention that Android 16, you might have heard that, the Google's locked it down, they're not letting it free, and that's going to be the death of Graphene and other alternate Androids. No, I don't know about Calyx or Lineage, but with Graphene, it's definitely not the death because they've already posted one up since that was locked down. Now, why did Google do that? They probably are thinking just security-wise, and do we want to make things easier for Graphene developers, or do we want to make sure our security is locked down tight. You know the answer there. Major corporation, they're going to take that route. But like I said, it doesn't mean that they can't post updates for Graphene. Doesn't mean the developers don't know what's going on. They just have to do a lot more trial and error. So it's a roadblock, but it's not a permanent roadblock. They've been able to get around it. IMSI capture is one thing I want to mention. You might have heard that the IMSI number can get captured by devices that police sometimes use to find out who's in a crowd, and they do this just routinely. One step you can take is to turn off 2G, because that's one way that they're able to get that. Your phone starts behaving a little bit weird in a crowd sometime. Who knows, you could be getting scanned by what they call it, switchblade or something. I forget what the term was. Stingray is what they called it. It's a device that just group captures the IMSI numbers, and it's so effective in avoiding that with a Graphene device that some foreign police agencies are upset because criminals are using these things to avoid being scanned. And I'm not saying it's a tool for the criminals. I mean, no more than just locking your phone down at all would be. But Graphene has a lot of other steps on here that are kind of nice. It's also got a decoy password. If your phone gets taken by the cops, they demand you open it up, you can put in a decoy password that takes them someplace that doesn't have anything on it. And I'm not saying that, I'm not advocating being a scofflaw or anything, but if you're, hell, never mind the cops, how about a criminal? They try a $15 wrench attack against you. You don't necessarily have to go along with it if you've got alternates like this. You can have different profiles, different purposes. Anyway, security and privacy both on Graphene for me are pretty good. 75% solution so far. I'm going to keep playing with it. Who knows? One day it'll become a 100% solution, but that's just my take on it. And if you have any comments, please leave them below. Thank you for watching.